What would America be like without immigrants, even though it was built by immigrants? Are immigrants really a problem for America? Immigrants are deeply connected to the country in many areas, from city parks to gyms, from fast food restaurants to football clubs, from company boards to factory floors, and from schools to hospital services. If the United States closes its borders to immigrants, this will not only affect immigrants, but also the daily lives of millions of Americans in many ways. Since President Trump sent ICE officers into the streets, more than 600,000 immigrants have been deported. Because of this, churches and parks in immigrant neighborhoods have become quieter. The number of students going to school has also dropped significantly in large states like Los Angeles and New York. Many immigrants are now afraid to leave their homes. A similar situation happened during the preparation of the Immigration Act of 1924. Experts such as Madison Grant were consulted. This law and the rules that came with it almost completely banned immigration from Asia. It also created the U.S. Border Patrol and introduced strict quota systems for immigrants from Asia and Southern Europe. Because fewer immigrants entered the country, and some people also left, net immigration dropped sharply. Today, President Trump's actions reflect that period. He describes immigrants from Somalia, Haiti, and Afghanistan as coming from hellholes, and accuses other countries of sending their prisoners and mentally ill people to the United States. One problem caused by immigration limits was explained by Melissa Marinaro, who runs an Italian-American program in Pittsburgh. She said that during World War II, many people who fled Italy were separated from their family members in the U.S. because some families went to Australia or Canada. Even 100 years later, we still have Italian-American families who are separated from their extended families, she said. This shows that many immigrant families in America are still suffering from the effects of these policies. It is hard to separate the effects of the 1924 immigration restrictions from other events like population growth, wars, and technology. However, in areas where immigration was restricted, hourly wages for U.S.-born workers increased. But this increase did not last long. Employers found new ways and hired workers from Mexico and Canada who were not subject to quotas. Many U.S.-born workers in small towns moved to cities, which reduced labor shortages. Farmers were forced to use automation, and industries like coal mining, which depended heavily on immigrants, became smaller. Today, even though housing construction is slowing down, hourly wages in construction are rising. This is possible evidence that deportations in immigrant-heavy sectors are pushing wages up. The same situation exists in landscaping. The workforce in this sector is expected to shrink by 10% to 20%. Skilled workers and foremen are very important in these jobs, so competition to find experienced workers will increase. This is another way immigration limits raise costs. Outdoor workers also became easy targets for ICE deportations during the summer. West Virginia is older, has more sick people, and is poorer than many other states. Despite this, nearly 20% of nursing positions are empty. These jobs were usually filled by immigrants. About 35% of doctors in the state received their medical education abroad. Now, this option is also shrinking. Many immigrant doctors cannot get visas, or they leave because they are unsure about their future and move back to their home countries or to other countries. There are some jobs that very few Americans want to do. One example is dairy farming. Jobs like milking cows, feeding animals, and helping with births are mostly done by Mexican immigrants. Even when job ads are published, maybe only 1 out of 10 Americans applies. Large restaurant chains are also losing workers. This includes not only dishwashers, waiters, and cleaners, but also skilled managers and future leaders. Schools are also affected. International students pay high tuition fees, which help fund programs and basic costs at many U.S. universities. As the number of international students decreases, many schools face budget problems. According to the Migration Policy Institute, between 2018 and 2022, nearly 1 out of every 2 legal immigrants in the U.S. had a college degree. Immigrants are also more likely to start businesses than U.S. citizens. About half of the top 500 companies this year were founded by immigrants or their children. Many studies show that after the 1924 immigration law, the number of patents in the U.S. also dropped. Another major issue is aging. The working population supports the retirement system. In the 1950s, 5 workers supported 1 retiree. Today, this number is about 2.8 workers per retiree. If it falls below 2, the retirement system could face serious problems. The retirement system could really collapse in the future, but this topic needs deeper discussion. If you want a detailed video about this, you can mention it in the comments. Rural areas and post-industrial cities have struggled for years as young people leave and the elderly population grows. Many of these places depend on immigrants for their future because the Trump administration ended temporary legal status for citizens of Cuba, Haiti, and Venezuela. Some employers were forced to fire their workers. When we look at the effects on Social Security and healthcare, immigrants are generally younger than Americans and use less healthcare. They also pay taxes for a longer time. If immigration stops completely, Americans may have to pay higher taxes or receive lower pensions. In science and technology, the U.S. competes with China and Europe. If it cannot attract skilled immigrants, it may fall behind in this competition. Stopping immigration would slow down the economy, but managing immigration properly would make the country stronger. If you want to see content like this, you can write a comment. You can like the video to show your support, or press dislike if you did not like it.